There's a very strong link between the state of your nervous system, your ability to have a balanced nervous system, and your state of sexual health or lack thereof. And so if you're struggling with sexual issues, premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction, low libido, low hormone levels, and you've tried other things and nothing seems to work, I think that what you're going to learn in this video will be very helpful. I'm Jonathan Wyatt. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can manifest your ideal life. If you enjoy the content, make sure you hit subscribe to support the channel and get my free ejaculation control course through the link in the video description below. I believe that a person's sex drive is an indication of their level of health. Level of harmony, balance, and health within the body. Because a healthy human body desires sex. I believe this is wired into us, and the expression of sexuality is an expression of abundance. It's an expression of the body having so many resources available that it's able to procreate on the most base level, though, if you follow my channel, you know that sex is about much more than just procreation. So whenever sexual issues arise, it's always a warning sign that something is off. Something is off within your body, your mind. These things are always connected. And of course, the nervous system. So you probably know this by now, but just to make sure you understand, I'm going to be talking about the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. The body fluctuates in between being dominant by sympathetic or parasympathetic. Sympathetic is the fight or flight response. It's there when you feel stressed. It's there when you have tension, physical, mental, emotional tension, your heart rate increases, your body tenses up. That's your sympathetic nervous system kicking on. The parasympathetic is the rest and digest state. It's when you feel calm, you feel grounded, you're just relaxing in a hammock, everything's nice and loose, relaxed. That's your parasympathetic nervous system state. And it's important to know that sexual health and definitely sexual arousal, for the most part, depends upon the parasympathetic nervous system being active, at least being dominant. You're always kind of fluctuating between these two, and they're often both active to some degree. But to be dominant in the parasympathetic is conducive to having good sexual health, having strong libido, strong sexual function. Really, I could sum up this whole video by saying, be able to maintain a state of parasympathetic nervous system engagement and you'll have radiant health. But it's not that easy, is it? And I'm gonna break this down a bit further to understand what's causing us to be stuck in fight or flight mode, because this is the issue. We live in a stressful world, our stress response becomes exaggerated, and this kills sexual function. And I'm gonna break it down to a few simple things that you can eliminate or at least have a better relationship with in your life that will really support your sexual health. Because our bodies were not designed to be primarily functioning in the sympathetic nervous system, which they are now in the modern age, it kills our sex drive. It kills our sexual function because the sympathetic nervous system is meant to be a self-defense mechanism, only to kick in when we really need it, like a predator's attacking us, a lion's running after you. You gotta get out of there or fight the damn thing and kill it, fight or flight, very primal. But we're not really fighting lions and tigers in the modern age. At least I'm not. Maybe you are where you live, but not many people I know are. So why is this constantly active? Why is it more active in human beings now than it ever has been, even though we're more safe than ever? Isn't that interesting? Because the modern lion is not a real lion. It's a little more complicated for us now. It's the stress you experience at work. It's the conflict you're experiencing in your relationships. It's that worrying if you're gonna be able to pay the bills or not. All these things, it's the fearful information on the news. All these things are the modern lions. And so basically when we're constantly in this mental stress, this mental, emotional, physical stress, it hijacks that fight or flight response. And so what's happening now is because we just have this constant stress coming in the modern world, because there's so much information, that people are stuck in sympathetic nervous system. The first function to go in the body is the reproductive system. It's your sexual function. Because when you're in that sympathetic mode, the body says, okay, we're under attack, everything extra, stop. We just need to put all resources into survival mode. We just need to survive. They're cut off the sex drive and focus on survival. So you're basically living in this very primitive state of survival where you're desperately seeking comfort is what people are really doing. And this often leads to behaviors that are addictive, seeking drugs, seeking porn, scrolling through social media. And this just creates this downward spiral of further overstimulating the nervous system and imbalances. So it's this downward spiral where people just get stuck in this. So again, when you're primarily functioning in that fight or flight mode, this leads to sexual dysfunction, low libido, low hormone levels, premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction. These things are often very much related to this stuck in the fight or flight. Nervous system imbalance, we'll just call it. And people try to fix these things with different things. Erectile dysfunction drugs are at an all-time popularity But these things don't really cure the root of the issue, and they have all kinds of other side effects. And you get in this mindset of, well, I'll just take a pill, I won't really solve the issue, that's good enough. Men will use penis numbing creams, which again, have superficial results, but it's not really getting to the problem of the issue, and you're numbing yourself, so you're reducing your pleasure during sex. It's not a very holistic treatment. People are recommending Kegel exercises, which just further exacerbates your stress response in a sexual situation and doesn't help anything most of the time. Guys will take supplements and herbs. I mean, there's a huge industry. You know, there's the drug pharmaceutical industry, but there's also like the supplement industry, which can be equally sleazy. And the thing is that yes, herbs, having proper nutrition, it helps. It's important. Tonifying herbs and hormone stimulating herbs, they can be helpful, but once again, without getting to the root cause of what's causing your sexual issues, it's just going to be a band-aid, and eventually the problem is going to come back. The body adjusts to supplements and stimulating herbs, and they usually aren't super effective long-term. That's been my experience. And hormone replacement is another thing that's common. And now, I'm definitely not a doctor. I'm not qualified to give medical advice. Of course, you should listen to your own physician and not take any of my advice unless your doctor says to. But hormone replacement isn't perfect either. There's all kinds of side effects from it. And one of the most common things is that your own production of hormones shuts down because the body's saying, oh, there's all this testosterone, we don't need to make more, shut it down, and men's balls literally shrink down to the size of raisins when they're taking testosterone often. So that's not really a sustainable long-term solution. At least I personally choose not to go that route. That would be like my absolute last resort, but there's a lot of things you can do before that, fortunately. So these are the things that people are commonly doing, just trying to like fix the issue. But again, it's not getting to the root of this. And if you want to truly cure something, it's like if you just keep pulling the leaves out of the weeds that are growing in your garden, they'll keep growing back. But if you get them by the roots and pull them out, they don't come back. So when you can get to the root of what your issue is, it's going to have the biggest effect, the most profound effect, the most long-lasting effect, and it's often way cheaper as well. In fact, what I'm going to recommend is free. So once again, the issue is that you're stuck in fight or flight mode. Stuck in this imbalanced nervous system state. So there's various reasons we're stuck in fight or flight mode. It's common that this is caused from childhood experiences, traumas. And we create these self-defense mechanisms and get stuck in reliving that experience of being in this self-protection survival mode, and that gets ingrained in the system, which is why a lot of the internal work, like the emotional clearing practices, the energetic clearing practices of sexual kung fu are very important, and why working with a therapist or a healer could be very helpful as well. Working with an acupuncturist, a Chinese medicine practitioner, someone with some skill to help you through these things can be very helpful and supportive. But the number one contributor, the easiest thing that you can work with right away, and the thing that from my experience and from observing others is having the biggest impact on being stuck in fight or flight mode, is screen time and information consumption. Of course, these two things go hand in hand. One of the biggest stressors to your nervous system is staring at a screen all day and then processing all this information that's coming from this screen. Scrolling through social media, playing video games, reading news article after news article, watching video after video, listening to podcasts after podcasts. Obviously, learning information is important. Listening to podcasts can be very beneficial. I mean, you're here watching this video, that's great. You want to learn something. But there's a line here where you have a healthy boundary with this screen that you're interacting with, and you're like allowing yourself to process and digest the information coming in, versus this turning into pure mindless entertainment where you're just absorbing information, just content after content after content, and you're not really doing anything with any of it. You're not processing it. It's like, oh yeah, this is nice. And then, an hour later you forgot what you did and you're just listening to something else, watching something else. This is overwhelming your nervous system. Our bodies were not designed for the amount of information that we're processing in the modern age. And I'm not trying to turn this into like, we need to get rid of technology and live in the woods. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm going to explain a little bit more, but it's important to understand how much of an impact this is having on your nervous system. Basically, staring at a screen all day, interacting with this device is shredding your nervous system. I mean, on an energetic level, what is a computer? What is a smartphone? It's comprised of very condensed, massive amounts of information. Your hard drive is spinning, it's vibrating, it's radiating information. Your Wi-Fi is literally broadcasting everything that's on the internet. That's moving it through your body. Your body's interacting with that 24/7. What is that doing to your, let's say, energy body? What is that doing to your nervous system? It's overwhelming it. And this creates this overstimulation. I mean, how do you feel after you've been staring at a screen for an hour, for 3 hours, all day? Do you feel in your body, or do you feel spacey? Do you feel like you have a lot of pressure, a lot of tension in the face, tension in the eyes, the temples? Are you even aware of like what's happening in your lower body? Are you aware of your breathing? These devices pull our energy out of us. They pull everything up into the head. It's like magnetizing all the information, all the nervous system signals, all the electricity, the chi in your body is being sucked up into your head. Here's a very interesting perspective from Chinese medicine. And for me, learning this was very profound. It was about a year ago. I was working with an acupuncturist because I'd been stressed. It was a busy time in my life. I was grinding. I wasn't sleeping well. My libido was a bit low. Part of my self-care was what a lot of people do is like, okay, I gotta find like the libido boosting herbs, the energy boosting herbs, all the tonic herbs will just like pump up my energy. But what I learned was that this was actually exacerbating the issue, because it wasn't that, this is gonna get a bit, more technical. So in Chinese medicine, the kidneys are the battery of the body, and that's very much related to your sexual vitality. The sexual organs are part of the kidney system. And the kidneys want to stay warm. They want the heat of the body energetically wants to be sinking down and settling into the belly. So basically the head wants to be a bit more cool, upper body should be a bit more cool, lower body should be warm. That is balance in Chinese medicine. This may sound like woo-woo, but bear with me. So what was happening for me was all this heat, all this information is rising up, and it was stuck in like my upper back. My head had a lot of tension in my shoulders, headaches, wasn't sleeping well. And by doing things that was adding more heat, taking certain herbs and supplements and just trying to like crank more heat in my system, that was just creating more energy to get stuck up in my head. So it wasn't doing any good. And what this acupuncturist was working with was simply to bring the heat that was up in my head and up in my upper chest to ground it back down into my lower body, into my kidneys, into my belly, into my sexual center. And this was very effective. And this was a profound discovery for me. I was like, oh shit, of course, I'm young, I'm pretty healthy. I don't need to be taking all these crazy libido boosters. I just need to manage my system so that instead of everything just being stimulated up into my head, settle it down into my lower body. And since I started focusing on that, I experienced a much more consistent degree of balance in my body, balance in my energy levels, healthy libido, and all these things. So again, like we often want to do all these things like I need to add more, I need to take more supplements, more drugs, more exercises, but it's really just about balance. You know what I mean? And this is one of the most relevant things for the world that we're living in right now. One of the classics of energy cultivation, Taoist internal energy practices, is Yi Dao Qi Dao, which basically translates to where the mind goes, the qi flows. Where your intent, your focus is, that's where your energy goes. And this is very much relevant to what I'm talking about here, because what's happened to humans as a species in the past just over 100 years, we've transitioned from being very connected to like the ground, the earth that we live on, farming, being out in the world, physical work, physically interacting with our environments, physically building and interacting with the world around us. We've transitioned from that into this entirely mental realm of interacting with computers, interacting with devices, watching videos, reading blog posts, listening to podcasts, just everything happening up here. And I'm not saying this is wrong necessarily, but what this has caused is we've lost connection with our bodies. People have no awareness of what's happening in their bodies until something's wrong, until they have a disease, they have pain, your dick stops working. This is what it takes for most people to realize, oh, I forget I have these legs, I forget I have this belly, oh, I'm not breathing very well, damn. So the more that your mind can fill up your entire body, the more your energy, your life force becomes distributed through your entire system, which it's meant to be, and the more balancing effect this has on your nervous system. This equates you being more in the parasympathetic nervous system. When you're staring at a screen all day, where is your focus going? It's going out. You're interacting with this buzzing energy. Your energy is up in your head constantly. You're pulling up essentially all of your vitality and getting it stuck in your head. And it's no longer vitality, it's just a headache at that point. So this may seem like kind of a ramble. Hopefully this is, hopefully you're vibing with this, but I'm gonna get now into the solutions, and I wanna share a little story. Well, it's not so much a story, but something that recently happened to me. So I just bought this house. This is my home now, and I have a forest in my backyard. And this is something I've been envisioning for years because my priority is to live somewhere in a quiet, peaceful environment in harmony with nature. Still close to a city, so I can do the things of the modern world, but like, this supports my health and vitality. And I spent most of my weekend outside. I'm doing yard work, I'm clearing a path in the forest, putting a little sanctuary in there to do my practice in, and also just like relaxing, like listening to the birds singing, listening to the creek running through my yard. And I felt amazing. I felt very calm, very parasympathetic. My vitality was strong. my libido is very strong. For me, a good indication of where I'm at is my morning erections. When I wake up with upward erections, they're beyond 9 o'clock. They're like, boom, 10, 11 o'clock. It's like, oh yeah, I'm doing something right, baby. So after this weekend, very little screen time, mostly out in nature, interacting, moving dirt, moving branches, mowing the grass, whatever. I'm interacting with the earth. I had incredible morning erections, basically, okay? Potent morning erections. And then Monday, I had a bunch of things to do. It was a rainy day, didn't spend much time outside, was doing a lot of work on a computer, kind of back in the grind. And I noticed that I had less sexual desire. There was an obvious change in my libido. And that night and the next morning, my erections were not as potent. So there was this obvious change. So again, it was just a direct reminder of me of how important it is to prioritize being in my body, interacting with real life things, being in nature, and spending as little time as possible on a device as I speak into my smartphone with a wireless microphone and a LED light shining in my face. But it's about balance. See, this isn't about like, oh, you have to be a fucking monk and live in a cave. No, it's about how do you create healthy boundaries, because technology is here. It has a lot of benefits and we can tremendously benefit from it, but we can also be enslaved and have our nervous systems shredded and our hormones depleted from it. So you have to be aware of what you're working with and work with it in a harmonious way. Here's the solution. Number one, it's really great to do a technology detox. If you can, like if you have a weekend, turn the phone off, tell your friends, your family, whatever, hey, I'm gonna be out of touch this weekend. The best thing is just to go on a camping trip. Go on a camping trip somewhere where there's no cell phone reception. But you'll be amazed at what even a day or two without interacting with technology will do for you. At first, you'll feel incredibly bored, which just shows you how agitated and out of balance your nervous system was, because you require constant, over-the-top stimulation just to feel normal. Be very mindful of your screen time. Again, I know it's unavoidable for us. So it's about setting healthy boundaries, because the tendency is you just get on the computer, just get on your phone you don't even know what you're doing, and you just start going through random shit. And I'm not saying I follow this 100% all the time, but I've gotten much more disciplined at before I get on the computer, before I get on my phone, I know, why am I doing this? What am I getting on here to do? Do I really need to do it? Is it going to add something to my life? And set time limits. I'm much more productive with my tasks when I have a time limit. Like, okay, I've got 1 hour to do this. Otherwise, it's easy just to dick around forever, scrolling the random shit. Next thing you know, you're watching fucking TikTok videos or something. And notice when you are just mindlessly I'll find myself just some days, it tends to be days where I've been very busy, where I find myself just feeling a bit bored and I just get on my computer and randomly start going through shit. I'll find myself just randomly checking emails. I'm like, what am I doing? I don't need to be doing this. And this is the indication that, okay, my nervous system's out of balance. I'm just seeking this stimulation, seeking a dopamine release. That means it's time for me to turn this damn thing off, go outside and go for a walk. Go do something in the real world. Whenever you're just mindlessly scrolling, mindlessly interacting with it just out of boredom, that means it's time to turn it off and go do something real. I also use grayscale on my phone. It's easy to do this in iPhone. Just look up how to grayscale your phone. This removes all color. It makes my phone boring as fuck to look at. And it's amazing because now when I turn it off, if I need to turn it off for something, there's so much color in the phone. I'm like, it's like candy for your eyes. So of course you want to we get into these trances interacting with devices. It's weird. So I use a grayscale app, makes my phone way more boring. I really noticed my screen time significantly lessened once I started doing that. There's also apps that will limit the time you can spend on, you can choose apps, choose a time limit and things like that. That may help you as well. And personally, I delete social media apps when I'm not using them. I'm very intentional about interacting with social media. I don't use Facebook. I don't spend much time looking on Instagram. I only post my content, chat with people, kind of interact with people. And then I get off the app, I delete it. Similar with YouTube. Sometimes I need to just delete my YouTube app because, especially since YouTube started doing shorts, I use a pen and paper as much as possible, to take notes, to write things out. Anytime I can do something that's analog, you know what I mean? I will try to prioritize that over a digital device. Spend more time reading books. Go to a park, be out in nature, read a book instead of watching Netflix. More time in nature, that's the number one thing for me, is more nature time. Go to a park. See if there's a local organic farm in your area that could use some volunteer work, a couple hours a week. You'll be amazed at how beneficial working in a garden, working on a farm, interacting with plants and the earth. I sound like a hippie, but it's true. It's our primal nature. It's how our bodies were designed to be. And when we don't have that, when we're just in these buildings, we get very out of balance. So it's coming back to our roots as animals that we are. Bring more awareness into your body, because when you're just in your head all day, even if you're not on a screen, you're just in your head thinking, what's happening next? Oh, what did I say to this person? It's just burning up your vitality, too much mental effort. Get into your body, feel your legs, go for a walk. One of my favorite things to do is go for a walk in the forest and don't think. I make it like a walking meditation. I feel my breath, feel my breathing, see how relaxed I can become. Notice how much tension I'm holding, just drop it. I just feel the earth beneath my feet. Listen to the birds, listen to the sounds, just pure presence and in the moment. Very much beneficial for getting in the parasympathetic. Self-massage also, it may sound silly, but like literally just like rubbing your legs, rubbing your belly. When I first started learning Qigong, my teachers would always do these self-massage practice, patting down. At first I was like, this is silly. But now I'm like, legitimately, this brings more awareness into the body, feeling your body, shaking it out, all these things. Very much supportive to bring more awareness, more energy into your entire body, which is what it's really about. So notice the things I shared it's pretty simple. It's really about getting out of this excessive mental activity, because that is the number one killer of libido. And the number one cause of sexual dysfunction is just too much mental activity. The more you can get into your body, be grounded, be a little bit more of an animal, the healthier you will be, the happier you will be, the more simple your life becomes, the more simple the world becomes, because you're just an animal walking on earth, just stumbling into whatever's around you, instead of like, whoa, what's happening in this other country and all this bullshit like you can't do anything about. You're just thinking about it all day. It doesn't do you any good. So simplify things. Simplify things. Of course, Qigong, yoga, breath work, proper exercise, diet, nutrition, all these things are helpful as well. But I really wanted to share something that you don't hear a lot of people talking about. And basically by being a bit more old school, less time hunched over on your phone, the better your life will be. You're gonna feel much calmer. Your nervous system will be much more balanced when you start to integrate these things. And there is a 20-minute practice that I do. It's pretty simple. And whenever I'm stressed out, I do this 20-minute practice and it helps me shift into a parasympathetic state. It's really effective, very simple, often quite profound at how effective it is. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to create a guided video of this nervous system balancing practice. All right, I hope you enjoyed the video. And remember, I don't want this just to be another video of like 20 that you're watching a day, just information, and don't act on any of it. Really think about what I've said. Really consider, if this is an issue for you, changing the boundary that you have with technology and doing more real life things that involve ground beneath your feet, doing more real world things. If you enjoyed the content, make sure you subscribe to support the channel. Give this video a like. Have a great day, my friend.